do the pledge of allegiance?
You want to do the pledge of allegiance?
Well, are we
Or
doing?
we want to
Want
start?
to wait till they want to do the pledge of allegiance at the start of the selectmen's meeting?
Yeah.
All right,
Do it.
we'll do that. 5:30. Guys,
Okay, you guys are up, speak loud and clear, and tell us what you want.
All right, I'm Nathan Bodge, I'm the superintendent of the Bath Water District. This is just an informational meeting about the upcoming transmission main project, the Woolwich Transmission Main Project as we've named it. And we sent a little over 100 letters to landowners along the construction route, and I'm going to basically summarize what that letter said and answer any questions that anyone might have about the project. So it's just under 17,000 feet, 16,800 feet of 16-inch ductile line water main that is going to go in from the Woolwich Central School on Nequasset Road down 127 back to Route 1 by the Cumberland Farms. Our 2018 master plan identified the existing transmission main that runs down George Wright Road and through the dike underneath the construction of the new bridge up onto Route 1 by the Taster Main as a vulnerable asset for the district, having no redundancy between the treatment plant and the river crossings. And in that master plan, we looked at different options to fix this. The first option was to go out the end of Nequasset Road as it does now. Rather than continue down the George Wright Road, it would go towards Bath down Route 1, across the Kennebec Rental, and across the Back River Creek there, back up to Route 1. The second option was this route around Middle Road. Part of the vulnerable nature of that location is the creek, the unknown of what's going to happen with the end of the George Wright Road, and obviously the construction of the new bridge that the DOT is doing. That's what pushed us to bring up this project after it was recognized as a weak point in that 2018 master plan. Engineers' estimates at that time in 2018 were $4.5 million for the first option and $6 million for this second option. But like I said, that was strictly based on the lack of redundancy, the vulnerability of sea level rise and storm surges also added to the decision to go with the second option. We had 6 bidders. Ranger Construction was the low bidder at $6.8 million, $800,000 over what the engineer's estimate was. Again, that was from 2018. The project is funded through the state's SRF program, which is a 30-year loan at 1%. Along with that, we have $2.2 million in principal forgiveness and $300,000 through the American Rescue Plan, ARPA money. So in total, we have over 32% of the project is subsidized. The intent of the project is, again, for system reliability and redundancy, not necessarily to gain any new customers, though we would be happy to have any new customers tie into the system. Our total connection fees right now for the district are $190. I thought that might be a question, as people have asked already what tying in would be. Typically, the construction company doesn't turn over the main to us until the project is completely done. We're looking at a 2-year construction window, so any new connections wouldn't be happening until probably at least after the 2 years.
So could you repeat that one more time? Say that again? What was that now?
$190 is
So to provide us,
connection fee, yes.
Connection fee. So that would-
$20 for the application for service, $150 for inspection, $20 to set the meter and activate the service.
Okay.
That's not putting in the service.
That's right. That, to be clear, that's not the,
That's not. Yeah, once the project's complete, if anyone wants to connect to the system, they don't have to use Ranger, though that's a possibility. They could hire their own general contractor. It just has to be done to district spec, and again, we have to inspect it.
But you would be providing some price for that at some, down the road at some point? If somebody were asking from Ranger,
No,
you won't?
no.
They would
If
be able-
individuals would like to reach out to Ranger, they can, but we just decided on this one, there's too many variables to give any unit pricing.
Okay.
Which side of the road you're on, ledge and pavement being what they are.
You say it's redundant. It's redundant to another system?
No, we don't have any redundancy. We only have one line between the treatment plant and the river right now.
So this is
So-
replaceable.
This will give us redundancy, so that if we have a failure on that line, it doesn't completely disconnect the treatment plant from the water system. That's the biggest concern. If we had a failure, either because of the bridge construction or because of the large storm that washed out that causeway that the main is in now, that current main was laid in 1971, and it's in the dirt causeway there that runs alongside of Route 1. It's not actually in Route 1. So as you know, any significant high tide, that can be underwater all the time as it is.
And it's on top of the existing structure?
Yeah.
The 9-foot, 10-foot?
Yeah, at the end of the George Wright Road, the large box culvert that's there, it's on top of that. There's probably less than 2 feet of cover over the top of that main. And not knowing at this point, I don't think any final determination has been made about what is going to happen with the end of the George Wright Road. That was all part of what we factored in making the decision to move it from this Route 1 area, the Back River Creek area, over to the Middle Road. We will still continue to use that as long as it's in service. We will maintain it because we would like to have two, just as we have two river crossings in the Kennebec. You know, if one fails, we can run off the other while we repair.
So to make you aware, 1 week ago tonight at town meeting, we did vote to discontinue that. And not the public easement part, but the maintenance portion for the town
Yeah.
is coming, and it would be going forward that eventually will be.
Yeah, and I know, along with the bridge construction that the DOT is doing, Kennebec Estuary Land Trust is looking at doing a restoration project in Back River Creek, and part of that is removing that box culvert and allowing more inflow and outflow into the marsh. And so we're teaming up with them to get funding to possibly dive the existing water main underneath the stream bed. Which again, we just had to splice 200 feet of the main underneath the bridge construction. So now you've got our one source of water between the treatment plant and the rest of the water system. That's got one splice in it now. If we do the project at the end of George Wright Road, we've got two splices, and it's still that old piece in the middle of that causeway. So again, that just adds to the vulnerability of that whole one existing line. Again, and that was the determining factors of why we chose to go this way.
And I have a comment to that as well. My name is Dustin Lack. I'm the lead project engineer at Wright Pierce, assisting the Water District on the design of this project. Having this new transmission main in service will allow operational flexibility to complete that work on George Wright Road. Depending on the timing of when that project takes place, we can divert water in and around 127, be able to do the work without discontinuing service to the path side of the system.
Without having to set up temporary lines or without having such a tight construction window as we did for the shutdown of the bridge.
So I think another reason why we wanted to have this meeting was to kind of talk about some of the construction disturbances that we can expect to see and kind of touch on the schedule of work, where we're going to be starting, and we brought Les Margue from Ranger. He's our project manager on the job. So Les, if you just kind of want to touch on maybe some of the traffic control measures that will be in place, and then schedule.
Yeah, we'll be starting on the south end, Route 1, 127 connection down there. That's 120 Middle Road.
Middle Road 127.
Yeah. So we'll be starting down on that end, it'll be beginning of July, I believe is the, it's right, first week of July, I think. We have to make the connection out in Route 1, that's gonna be a few days of night work. Once we make those connections and get out of Route 1, we'll go back to days, and we'll maintain days throughout the rest of the project. We'll work our way north, up 127, and we'll utilize traffic lights that'll be set up 24/7. And on the weekends, we'll take them down and open up 2 lanes of traffic. But throughout the week, Monday through Friday, they'll be alternating one-way traffic. And I know there's a lot of southbound traffic in the morning, a lot of northbound at night. So our traffic lights will be able to handle that flow. We have detectors on there and they can sense the flow of traffic. So in the morning, basically, they'll open up longer periods of time for southbound traffic to make sure not to hold up the workers trying to get to work. And the same thing in the afternoon. And what we'll do is we'll supplement those lights too with flaggers if need be. We'll have personnel there. If we see it getting backed up a little bit, they'll run down, they'll stop the lights, they'll put it on flashing red, and they'll just wave them through, they'll flag it.
For the peak hours of BIW traffic. These Ranger plans on working starting at 6 and working past the 3:30 rush, so the lights won't be unmanned while the peak traffic hours are in flow.
Yeah. There's a lot of ledge to be removed along the way. So before we actually start installing pipe, we're gonna pre-drill areas that we determine along the path that have the highest amount of ledge in it. We'll pre-drill that. So it'll be a track machine running along down the side of the road, Swiss cheese the ledge, and hopefully they're out ahead of us far enough. And then our ledge crew will come in, hammer the ledge up in that spot, backfill the trench, and our pipe crew will be behind it, working its way up. And it's gonna be kind of a little bit of a touch and go situation as far as how much ledge can we remove, how much pipe are we installing, are they gonna catch them? I'm hoping we stay right ahead of them and the pipe crew follows, but you know how that goes, nothing ever works perfect, so we'll have to see how that goes, but that's the plan.
How deep will the pipes coming up the road be?
It'll have a minimum of 4 feet of cover in ledge areas and up to 6 feet of cover in not, and we're up the ledges, correct?
Yep, so standard installation, or standard cover would be 5 feet, and in areas of ledge will allow it to shallow up to 4 feet of cover.
Have you decided which side of the road?
East.
Yep,
Okay.
it's on the east side of the road,
And it'll be on the north side.
on the north side of Nequasset Rd.
Yeah, okay, good.
And the goal is to be in the shoulder no more than 3 feet out into the roadway.
And the road is, it's pretty, it's not in the best shape right now, so we'll do our best to try not to cause more damage. We have to saw cut about 3 feet into the road probably, and we'll just have to be,
We're trying to improve it.
yeah, no, absolutely.
We're counting on it.
Will that be single lane, will it be limited to a single lane at any time up Middle Road when, in the active construction areas? Or is it going to be 2-way traffic all the time?
It'll be 1 lane the entire time and 2 lanes on weekends.
That's what the lights, right, that's what the lights are. So 24 hours, 5 days a week, there'll be alternating 1 lane.
Correct.
And then weekends, you'll go back, so Friday night at 6 o'clock or whatever time, we'll go to 2 lanes till Monday morning at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
And what, to follow up on that, what is the time frame? In other words, when we working through the fall, how late?
We will work
All right,
until
we're
it gets too cold.
gonna keep
And
on
then
going.
it's, weather depending obviously, but I'm thinking, we'll try to make it to beginning of December. Well, no, we can't do that. We're gonna shut down right when the pavement.
When
plants
pavement
shut
plants
down.
close down.
Before
DOT is requiring the road gets
Well, that-
repaved at the end of every, 2 weeks?
Yeah, they
it's-
didn't specify
So-
a particular.
That's what I was wondering for.
Once we can repave, we'll have to be
All
done.
right, so prior to Thanksgiving, roughly.
We're gonna try
About
to,
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
we'll try to stay away from temporary pavement, so we're gonna want that done, Thanksgiving down here, maybe a few plants we can open up a few weeks after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Usually sometimes they stay open a little bit later sometimes, so right around that.
The intent with the traffic lights is not to go from Route 1 all the way to the Nequasset Road and have that be 1 lane though. you're gonna keep them
Oh,
boxed
yeah.
into the,
Yes.
it's not gonna be the entire construction zone.
No, a few hundred feet or whatever.
Right, about
Just
500
around
feet or
the
so,
way.
and then that'll slowly, that small enclosure will move north as we install the main.
Yeah, did you have more, Tommy? No. Do you anticipate lighting that? I'm just asking, I'm not saying you have to, but at nighttime, will that be lit, or do you, I know you have traffic lights, but do you anticipate lighting?
Construction lights?
Yeah, I'm just asking. You and I talked one day about how, DOT, like how far out of the road are you gonna be, and is it gonna be
It's-
a hazardous situation?
It's possible, I mean, we can if it's necessary, I wonder if it would cause more harm than good, I don't,
I'm just trying to,
but we're not against it.
yeah.
And
That's
will there also,
that's why all the equipment is getting removed from the roadway on the weekends. That was part of the deal.
That's the traffic plan deal,
Yeah.
so everything's, okay.
and there'll be one-way traffic on the Nequasset Road some of that time too?
So once we get to Nequasset Road, I mean, towards the end of the, that's the last portion of the project. I'm hoping we can do a detour on Nequasset, because Nequasset Road is very, very small. There's not much room to get traffic around our enclosure. I haven't yet spoken with the town about this, but that was our intent. We kind of wanted to just get started, get the DOT all set, and then kind of talk with the town about that. We haven't yet to do that.
So
We
how-
don't anticipate anything on the Nequasset Road this year.
I was gonna say, how far do you anticipate getting?
That would be the second.
I mean, I'd love to be able to make it there this year, obviously, but yeah, like you just said, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables that will influence how quickly or slowly we go along the project route. So the goal for this year is to get to Nequasset Road, with Nequasset Road being completed in 2024. As far as construction disturbances go, obviously there's some sound associated with construction equipment. Kind of want to touch on the drilling, the ledge drilling. Is that a hydraulic
It's,
or a pneumatic drill?
I guess it's both, I'm not quite. We'll have a subcontractor come in and do that for us, main drilling and blasting. There's not gonna be any blasting going on this job, but they'll come in, they'll drill it with their machines. I wouldn't say, it's certainly not as loud as hoe ramming, that's for sure. There's gonna be a lot of
Been
that.
involved in the noise?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that on this job.
Oh, ramming.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Dust control. If it gets too dusty, you're gonna stay on top of watering and
We'll have a water
calcium.
trailer. Yeah, we'll have a
It's
water trailer
necessary.
on site. We'll place calcium along the road we'll put either millings or like a 3/4 inch minus gravel hard pack in there when we're done. And we'll put the calcium to it, keep the dust down, and we'll have plenty of that. I have to lay down there,
So just to clarify, no drilling prior to 6 AM and no later than 6 PM? I'm just, what were you, one more time, what was that?
so. Yes, we won't start before 6.
And how late at night? Just,
Our construction window is 6 to 6,
okay, and no weekends?
and no
As
weekends.
far as drilling and hoe ramming and,
Correct.
There will be a time when we go on, and I know it's up in the air still possible, when we go underneath the culverts.
Yeah.
That is gonna have, that will be throughout the weekend and everything, when that time frame comes, that is gonna happen.
Yeah, okay.
that's in the marsh area, the twin
It's
culverts?
underneath the twin
Yeah.
culverts.
We have to horizontally directionally drill under that, and you open up 2 pits on each side, and the machines that are in them holes, it could vary, it could happen in a week, it could happen in 3 weeks, it all depends on soil conditions. And those have to stay in there the entire time, you can't just backfill it and pack up and go. So during that time frame, depending on, how easy it is, it might be a weekend or 2, but those lights will be up in that small area for that duration.
Yeah.
Anybody have any further questions?
I have a question.
before the meeting, they put that map on the wall. For the sake of the video audience, could you tell us what that map is?
Take us on a tour of it.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I'll walk right up here. Spent all the time plotting it, I might as well talk about it, right? So this is just a project overview map. What you're seeing here is Route 1 and Taste of Maine here. The project will start at the intersection of Route 1 and 127 at Cumberland Farms. And then we'll work our way up through 127. We talked about the directional drill through a marsh area. That would be at this location here. And then 127 connects with Nequasset Rd at this point. And the scale of this map from where we turn onto Nequasset Rd from Route 1 is about 2.5 miles. The entire project from Route 1 up 127 to Nequasset Road to the central school is 3.2 miles, as Nate mentioned earlier. So there's a stub of water main just beyond the hydrant in front of the school, which we'll be tying into. And so when water comes through from the treatment plant, it can go in either direction, up Route 1 or up 127 when this project's complete.
This will actually be a good thing for the town of Woolwich. There's a lot of undeveloped land on the middle road. And as you all know, our dump is, our old dump that's covered over now, leaches out chemicals. And we are already paying for 3 houses to have filtering equipment for their wells. And there's a big lot on the side of the road that this pipe is going to run down, that if it got developed and people started putting houses in there, they'd run into the same problem. So this will put good, clean water available for the entire length of the middle road from Nequasset down to Cumberland.
Either side?
What's that?
Either side?
Either side, if you want to pay to have it taken across the road, yes.
I thought so.
That actually, David, that what you said though reminded me of something. I spoke about not connecting any services to the main until the entire project was done. We would talk to anybody that had a big chunk of land that would look at possibly developing it, or if they have any use intended for their land that they know they want a large service for, so like a 6-inch fire service or an 8-inch main into a subdevelopment or something like that. We would want to know that ahead of time and potentially work with Ranger on getting large connections that include T's off the 16-inch main rather than just a single domestic tap. So if anybody knows anything like that, then
We can put that on our website, that anybody that was interested in tapping onto this line, they can contact you folks.
yeah.
Easier to install during construction than to come back in and cut it after the fact.
So David, that means, did we ever iron out the hydrants?
Yeah, 8.
We did agree on 8? Did we? Okay. I wasn't sure, remember we funded that for a certain amount, but I didn't know we actually took,
We bounced an 8, I think, Mike wanted 13 or something.
so we're all set on those?
Yeah.
And
We're
the other
set
column?
on 8, and we were going to field locate them with the fire chief.
Okay.
So locations of them they are on the plans, but that's not a set in stone.
We can put in the connections, we don't necessarily put a hydrant on top, right?
Well,
Or is it,
yeah, no,
it doesn't make any sense.
yeah, no, we're good if it's if that's what it is. And so then another follow-up question. So just for fire and rescue and emergency stuff. So during these traffic light sections, is it, I don't know, is it visible? Is it going to be visible to see? So if you were coming down 127 going to a call and you're at the traffic light, it's red, are you going to be able to see the other one to proceed, or of course it might be on a curve? Or?
Yes, I mean, you should be able to see the lights at all times. If for some reason, a specific part of the road, we have to place these things
Sure.
where it's as safe as possible to the traveling public. So that's the goal. I mean, if we have to shorten it up or lengthen it, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
But absolutely, they should be in line. The traffic lights should be in line of sight of one another.
You said you're gonna have flagmen on the area anyways, right? If they see an emergency vehicle coming with lights and siren or whatever, they'll know to let it
Absolutely.
through.
And during the day, yes, there'll be personnel there to supplement the lights. And these lights even actually have they can sense if there's strobes coming.
I get an eye.
And yeah, right, they can detect that. And they'll shut down traffic coming the other way to make sure these
I
things.
just, that's gonna be a question that comes
Yeah,
up.
no, it's, yeah, they're- should be.
He was also talking about a detour on Nequasset Road that won't work with fire trucks and ambulances heading across there regularly.
Right. But we're not dealing with that until next spring, right?
Correct.
And then we obviously gotta have.
Yeah, so in the event of a detour, that would be coordinated with the fire department, so that would be something that they would have, they would have part of the conversation.
And with the detour on that road, it wouldn't be impassable. You know, it's not like we're dancing across the road, we're just on one side of it. If someone is coming, or like a fire truck or an ambulance, a dump truck can move over a little bit. You know, the equipment will stand down for the time being to get everybody through there. It can still be passable, it's just not safe to have regular traffic passing all the time.
Well, that was the question, is it just a local traffic only
Yes.
situation?
Yeah.
It's not a full
Not
road
through
closure,
traffic.
it's no through traffic. So
So is the school bus local traffic?
they might not start till after school gets out.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a good point, but we would have to work with the school as far as timing. You know, do we put them out there at a certain time in the morning, we set up later? Do we shut down earlier to make sure we don't affect the school? Absolutely, yes, that's a good point.
Yeah. So we'll hear more about that over the winter probably.
Yep.
The only other dumb, are you gonna energize any of this or a line prior to, or is it all at the end?
Yeah, it's too long to get a pressure test
Yeah,
for the
right.
whole length. And we also have existing customers on 127, just up beyond Subaru Road. So that portion will have to be done, bacteria tested, and put back into service before we continue to go north. So it will be done in sections and energized.
So
Yeah.
theoretically.
But again, until the whole thing's done and we've reached substantial completion and the main's turned over to us, we won't allow any connections onto it.
I was thinking of hydrants too, though, if any of the hydrants were in,
Yeah, potentially.
potentially, but
Yeah,
then.
they wouldn't be,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be up to their fire flow because they're not connected to the treatment plant, and it'd be a dead end.
That's fine, because we didn't budget for that this year anyway.
So I can speak to that as well. Hydrants that are installed but are not in service are typically bagged, so that there's no confusion about, oh, I'm gonna hook onto this hydrant because there's no water there. So that's something that would take place as well.
Anybody have any further questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone.
Kim, do you want the rest of these? in case you want-
Absolutely, we'll put them up front, so, thank you.
Tim, do you want to put that map down, or do you want to